We're going to move on with our next speaker. This is a duo called Jolby Friends. They're a super friendly design and illustration duo from Portland, Oregon. Josh and Colby, but Jolby, mix them together. The two of them met in 2005 when they were in art school together, and it was pretty much, that was it. They started their studio, Jolby Friends, in 2010. And have since worked with clients like Disney, Cartoon Network, Sub Pop Records, Google, Chronicle Books. Today they're going to talk about the ups and downs of working with your best friend. And you can talk to them about things that a lot of designers like: coffee, beer, donuts. Everyone, Jolby.
Hello, is this on? Hey everybody, super stoked to be here. Thanks for having us. It's been a really rad weekend so far. We went to an Indians game last night, which was super rad. And I just ate a hot dog with Fruit Loops on it, so I think I'm okay. I might projectile vomit onto the front row. But yeah, it's been rad. Thanks for having us. So we're Jolby, and for the past 9 years we've been a collaborative team, and we're now the owners of Jolby Friends, a creative studio in Portland, Oregon. And we've worked together in many forms and ideas that start and end with collaboration. And we're going to beat you over the head with that word today. That's like the foundation of our studio, basically. So from art shows, branding work, digital work, to building IKEA furniture, we've tried to collaborate on everything. And we started as a studio of just two dudes doing it all, answering every phone call, clicking every mouse click. But in 4 years, we've grown to a studio of 6, which we're really proud of, and we all work together all day on everything, all the time. And so here's just a quick sample of some of our recent work, just to show you guys some of our disciplines and a few projects that we've done. We do about half and half design and illustration, and some digital. But today, we're not really going to talk about the work. We just kind of wanted to get that out of the way, or really how we create, but we want to talk to you guys about the relationship building techniques and the tools that we've learned that makes everything we do function to create the best work possible. And sometimes it doesn't work, and it's our goal and our challenge to figure out how to move forward the best way possible. But before we get too serious, we're going to talk a little bit about ourselves.
I'm Josh. I'm from Santa Clarita, California. That is my wife and my puppy Archie. I'm obsessed with food. A lot. I love it. Patterns are my life. Billy Joel, The Stranger is my favorite album of all time. I like to fish and forage, and I love the Chicago Blackhawks. Yeah!
We were hoping that was going to happen. Someone's going to like it, yeah.
I was actually hoping someone would boo, but whatever.
Oh, okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you. My name is Colby. I'm from San Diego. This is my pretty wife and my pretty kitties. I'm a huge cat lady. I'm not afraid to admit it. As much as I love those three creatures, I love beer probably just as much.
She's not going to be happy.
Nope, but it's okay. I'm a big coffee nerd. I love a lot of coffee. I'm also just like a big nerd. Like I love 20-sided dice and hobbit holes and Game of Thrones tabletop board game.
Cats on video games?
Yeah, cat lady stuff. This is my music of choice. I'm a metal guy. I love Maiden. And guys, just like eat a balanced meal. This is my typical lunch. If you incorporate a donut with every meal, you will be healthy. That's for sure.
So Colby and I met in art school. We actually met during Colby's last class. I had a little bit of time left. And we never really knew each other. We never really hung out. We just were in this class together. We really admired each other's work. And we show kind of who we are as people because we're very different. We're very different, and it's a lot of collaborations are that way, and you come together because you fill in those gaps of the other person. And it's been incredibly enriching, and just to take things from our outside lives and bring them into the studio, and to have another person who has things that are different, because it adds to a very diverse background to our studio, and everyone in our studio is different, so it's pretty awesome, and we enjoy it.
So our first initial collaboration was about 9 years ago, and it was called Substratum Apparel. And since we liked each other's work, we didn't really know each other, we thought, well, let's start a project. Why don't we make some t-shirts together? And so we both agreed, well, that's where we'll start. And so we made a lot of t-shirts together. And we had no idea what was going to come from it. If anything, we just wanted to work together and start this company. But a few months later, we had investors, and we were designing full apparel lines, and it was really intense. And all this was a full-time job, basically, on top of current full-time jobs at agencies. So it was a lot. It was a crazy way and an intense way to learn how to collaborate and partner with someone. And because of that, we learned a lot very, very quickly about each other. And we pushed ourselves to ask questions and give advice and be open and honest and learn as much as we could from each other. And I think the most gratifying part about it was, this is when we started to do work as a team, and we kind of ditched like the Josh Colby thing. And there wasn't any singular ownership anymore over a file, over a drawing, over the work. It was us. We were Jolby from that point on, and that felt really good. This is how we came out of the womb together, two-headed. So we combined our names, and this joint idea of wanting to be a team instead of just two people working together for personal gain. And it's hard to say why we did this beyond just wanting to work together. And it was one of those things that started with App Project, which became two, and then snowballed into starting a company and just kind of went from there. And since then, and still now, we do things on the side, like without the Jolby name, but we end up bringing it into the studio and showing each other. And if I'm doing something for myself, why can't I show Josh to get his feedback? He's going to make the idea better or the piece better. So we just kind of ditched it. And everything we did, we claimed together instead of, well, this was like 90% me and like 10% you. We killed that because it's really toxic for like pure collaboration. So we just agreed to never do it.
So in 2008, we had finished 4 collections with Substratum Apparel. It's roughly over 100 and some odd t-shirts that we made together, and we were just burnt out. We just couldn't do it anymore. It was incredibly hard on us. But we wanted to do something different together. We knew that there was something that was growing and building, and we really liked where it was going. So we knew that the future would hold something for Jolby, and we didn't know what it was. But yeah, so we ended Substratum Apparel. Around that time, I had moved to Chicago, and Colby was moving to Portland. And we knew that there was something here, and you would think that distance would pull us apart and that the collaboration might stop, or we just would stop working together, but it only grew stronger. We looked at it like, okay, well, this is now a problem. We have to figure out how to solve it. And so we talked a lot more. We did more talking when we were apart than we did when we first started Substratum Apparel, when we were in one city. So that was just awesome. It was an incredibly enriching time for both Colby and myself. But individually, myself, when I was in Chicago, is kind of a disaster. My wife and I hit a point where we were getting ready to possibly get a divorce, and there was a lot of uncertainty in my life, and just everything felt like it was about to explode. And I had this relationship with Colby that was growing. We were doing all this creative, fun stuff, and everything that I knew on the other side for the last 7 years was falling apart. It was just a mess. And so instead of giving up, my wife and I looked at the situation, and we were like, okay, let's get away. Let's try something. Let's go somewhere and just focus on each other and figure out what is right. And if it's divorce, it's divorce. But we needed to give it our all and try something. And we ended up in Bali, Indonesia. I know it's a magical place to go and like have a couples retreat and see if you want to get a divorce or not. But so beyond like that, it's gorgeous, absolutely incredible place. And there was the typical out of the norm experiences that we had together. But it taught us something while we were there, from the people that we met and what we saw and what we experienced, something so basic that we overlooked it, and it was communication. After 7 years of being together, we forgot how to talk to each other. There was just a large lack of communication between the two of us. And it wasn't day-to-day stuff or things like, I wonder what Keyboard Cat's doing now. It was how are we as a team? What are our shared goals and what are our challenges that we had together? And this, going to Bali, traveling 9,000 miles to realize something incredibly simple, but we realized how important it was to us. And it changed our lives. It changed how we wanted to live our lives, and who we were going to be moving forward as people. We wanted to live openly and honestly together. So when I got back from the trip, because I was so pumped on it, I really tried to implement candor and honesty in all aspects of what I was doing in my life. If I'm trying to be the most honest with my wife and to have that grow, why can't I do that with everything? That's how I looked at it. I was like, this is a great opportunity to be open and honest with everything and every person in my life. So I brought this up with Colby, and I told him what it was doing, and I thought maybe we could bring this into what Jolby is. So we thought, what if we approached how we work, our working relationship, as just as important as the work itself? If we really tried to focus on the process of the way we worked and the way that we communicated, maybe it would result in better design and illustration.
And this quote kind of sums that up. And this was a big game changer for us because we were really open with each other in the past, and we always defaulted to an us or instead of saying I. But making a point to nurture and respect this process was so new and exciting. And to this day, it's the foundation of how we work. And to us, we've learned that a relationship means giving a shit. Like you have to care about the people around you, whether it's work or personal. And if Josh and I had only talked, over this long distance collaboration, had only called to talk about a job or a file or, Keyboard Cat, whatever it was, it would only be surface level. Like we could never achieve a really deep personal collaborative relationship. And so taking time and spending time with someone builds this relationship between you and another person. Very obvious. But we forget to do this, right? In a work setting, we all just default really easily to, well, I'm going to go back into my hole and make my thing, and you're going to make your thing. So instead, Josh and I chose to learn everything about each other. And through these countless hours of giving a shit and talking beyond the work, we grew really, really close. And I think what we learned is that you can't collaborate with someone in your studio who's a stranger if you don't get to know them and know how it is you could collaborate with them, how you can work with them. You have to crack them open, you gotta see what's inside their brain, mix your shit with their shit into like this weird batter and make some cosmic pancakes. And you have to try, like that's what we try to do each time, like just write it out until we find something rad. And you need to pour yourself into every single collaboration you do with the hope, the openness and the hope that it'll be reciprocated. But the other side of collaboration that we've experienced is that with the care and putting in all this time comes disappointment. Like we probably all in here have had a failed collaboration at some point. And that happening is super real and it's very common.
But it shouldn't stop a collaboration, and that's what we've learned over the past 9 years of working together, that those roadblocks and the barriers that they come, but discovering them is incredibly important to the process. And then the way that you grow from those experiences and how you look at that as an opportunity to make that collaboration and then future collaborations better has just been something that has really driven us. So we look at barriers as a great starting point to find better results for our collaborations.
So the first barrier is probably the biggest one. It's your ego. And we pretty much crushed this day one. We agreed to never have it in the room when we worked. Just focus on the work, get rid of the me's and the I's, and just focus on the team. But this can be a huge killer of team spirit and just an overall success of a collaboration. And the goal with a collab is to create something together as a unit, right? As one singular team, and taking this sense of letting go to push the outcome of the work itself. And whether it is we work for a client or another agency or a fellow creative, we know going into a collaboration that the goal is to make the best thing possible between all of us. And it's not to have ours be the best part or to overwrite someone's part or try to water it down. And so often, when this happens, people are just defaulting to their egos. And when this happens, it's important when you're in that room to reiterate the goal of the project and the purpose of why everyone is sitting together and working together in the first place. For us, when we put the priority of the team and the goal first, it gets rid of everyone's ego in the room.
So I think the most asked question we get, because Colby and I we've become very close, and we love what we do. We're positive people, and we have real good time doing the work that we do, but we always get asked, how often do we fight? And what do we do when something comes up, when there's something different between the two of us? And because we're different people, of course there's times when it doesn't work, and there's times when we just don't see eye to eye on things. But we have, from the early beginnings of what we've done, always had the same idea, is that we really have to take the opportunity to look at it and to solve it. And we like to call that squash the beef.
Gotta squash that beef. It's in the note. It says Colby squash that beef. So,
so we sit down, we talk about it, and we do it honestly and respectfully, and then we move on. And we do that because our studio is incredibly efficient, and we look at this like, if we don't take care of this now, it's going to derail or destroy something down the line. So we take care of it then and there, however long it takes and whatever it means. We figure out how to move past whatever those differences are. And now it's our job as bosses to do that with our employees and to figure out how to talk and to deal with these issues as in our studio. And we tell our teams that they're peers for the task at hand, and if there is a difference, you just have to figure out how to solve it.
Back when our studio manager started, he was our first real employee, so he was number 3. And we'd all gotten into an argument about something, and I think a lot of it was because we were so used to doing everything that when we finally had to let go of some of this stuff to give it to him to do, he kind of had to rip it out of our hands, because we're so used to doing it. So it was just really difficult. But yeah, one day at work, we'd all gotten into an argument, and you could smell this just like funky beef, just this bad vibe in the whole studio, right? It was killing the work, everything. So we all sat down, we were aware that something was going on, and we just hashed it out. We said, hey man, you did this, hey, you did that, here's how we can solve it, and let's move on, instead of letting it fester and turn into this really bad thing that could just explode over the studio, in a month. So we just sat down and worked through it.
And it's uncomfortable. We look at it like we hit it head on, but we have to do it. We have to do it because the way that our studio runs and the type of people we are, as intimate as we are as a team, it has to be solved then and there.
And all of these tiny little check-in moments where we squash beef has defined how we work better with each other, and our team is 1,000 times stronger for it. Another barrier is just collaborating on its own, which sounds kind of weird. But I think the thing is, people don't always get along, and not everyone is like Josh and myself, who love getting into a room and just hashing shit out and figuring out what's going to come out of it. And I think a lot of companies feel that they have to collaborate because it's what you need to do, and these dudes are doing it, why can't we do it? But people only say that and collaborate with no reason because they're not sitting down to ask why they're all working together in the first place. And it's important to discover the meaning when you're working with a team or with another company, and then to make that the purpose. Do you want a bunch of heads in the room to come up with the best idea? Or do you simply just want to get everyone together and just see what kind of magic happens? And it's your responsibility in that room, not your bosses or your creative directors or anything. It's your responsibility, because you're on that team, to be able to talk candidly through any problems that group has, so that you can keep the mood positive and the work flowing.
So when we first started Jolby Friends as a studio, we needed to find work. And we sent out these promos, and it basically said, just let's collaborate. And we sent it to all sorts of people, and we weren't hearing any responses. And then the some that we did, it was always like, well, what do you guys want to do? And we were like, I don't know. I thought we were just, you'd hire us. And we were taking collaboration for granted. it didn't make sense. So when we took the time to figure out why we were doing it and what was the reason that we would want to work and collaborate with those companies, then it started to make sense. And then we started to get work, and since then, understanding why we are doing it in the first place, it makes it so much easier to have a collaboration with a client, and a true collaboration where you're really feeding off each other and you can approach someone and be honest with them. It was until we figured that out that everything was it's been great. The goal with collaboration is to create better results. And if that can't be done, you're just doing it to do it. And it's a waste of everyone's time and money. So when my wife and I discovered that what our problem was and what we needed to do to solve it, it was something that was really hard, but we learned how to do it. We took that opportunity to grow from it. And collaborations have barriers, and you just can't give up. You have to look at it like, this is the best opportunity for me to grow and for me to learn from this barrier or whatever came up in this team setting. But our solutions that we have and what we've done, it may not work for everyone. And even the things that I think will work in the studio, Colby may not, but it's trying over and over again to figure out what it is. We really don't give up when there is something that comes up, and we take the time to find solutions for whatever problems are in our studio.
And we still mess up all the time. Like, this isn't like a completely foolproof process. It still happens.
Yes.
So I think the main thing that we've learned is that every day is going to be different, and very rarely do projects or just days go as planned. And if you can't grow these changes and force yourself to adapt to what's happening, then you're just going to get stuck in the same rut you were in yesterday. Like, if we didn't work out our problems in the studio, we would just hit them head on again in a week. And recently we were giving some advice to a friend who was, he was really unhappy at his current design day job, and he felt like no one was collaborating, no one was helping him. He was just stuck. He had given up. And we gave him advice very similar to this, but we were like, hey man, this takes work. This isn't going to work the first or the second time, so if you quit then, it's on you. It's probably going to work the third or the fourth. But each time, change your approach and kind of adapt to the problem so that you can get everybody on board. Because we knew it was going to be easy for him, and it's easy for anyone, just to default to giving up. Well, I knew these guys couldn't work together. I guess I'm never going to have this collaborative relationship with them. But if you can grow and change to that problem, then everybody's better for it.
When you start a collaboration, it's super important to define what it is you're going to be doing. There's going to be specific roles. If it's going to be loose and free-flowing, defining a structure helps hold people accountable so they can feel like they can contribute to the team. You're brought into a collaboration for your strength, and you have to own it, but when something comes up and it changes, you also have to understand and learn that you need to then own that new task. So defining it and understanding it helps for those situations where things may change, and that's what we've learned while having our studio. And for the first 3 years of our company, Colby and I did everything, because we did designing, illustrating, we made each other lunches, we talked to every client, we answered every email, everything. And we had to do it because it was just the two of us. But from the beginning, we had this shared goal and knowledge that we were doing this because we were partners and because we needed to get that shit done. But now we have employees and we have subcontractors and people who rely on us so that they can do their job. So our roles had to switch to become leaders instead of the dudes that were doing everything. And it was hard. It was really difficult in the beginning to, hand over, like, we were illustrators, and now, we did every single line, every single drawing that came out of what Jolby was, and now we just have to inspire someone to draw a line and give them the tools that they can use so that they can create. So we had to adapt to that change and our new role. But because of that, and because we hired these people for their talent and who they were, it's made everything better because we can just sit back and know that they're going to do their job as long as we do ours as leaders.
Yeah, that's been some of the best work in our studio so far, is work that we don't really touch, we just kind of art direct or creative direct. And the people we hired just kick ass, and that feels awesome. So your brain, after a lot of time with someone, is going to start to fill in kind of the invisible gaps. And you're going to start to learn how to anticipate the other person, kind of like Josh and I have over the years, and like what you do with a significant other or someone really, really close to you. So if you do the same at work, then that's when all the magic starts happening. And we joke about sharing a brain a lot, but
Yeah.
it's real life.
We call it Jolby Mind. We act as each other's right and left sides, and anticipating what the other one is thinking, and how they're going to move about a project. It all comes because of how we communicate with each other. And now it's our goal to figure out how we can take this idea of understanding our employees and them understanding us, so that as a studio and as a team, we can have Jolby Mind together.
So, for instance, if I'm doing this new design, this beautiful beer label, and I'm using Helvetica Bold, and I'm going to show Josh and see if he digs it, because if he has a push or whatever, then we'll show the client. But if I know he hates Helvetica Bold, this is going to die like the minute I show him. He's just going to be like, nope, get this out of my face. But if I know that, and I know and can anticipate the questions he's going to ask, and how to kind of talk him through it, like how to sell it through to him basically, then this thing might have a life. And so the same goes for our clients. Like, we want to anticipate what they want and what they need without saying it, and we realize that we can't get that unless we put in the time and the effort with them. And finally, the probably most important tool to fixing a broken collaboration, or any collaborative barrier, is just to listen. And if you get a handful of really talented, awesome people in a room, they're all going to have probably 100 ideas that they want to get chosen as the thing that you're all going to do. So it's important to figure out the timing of when to shut the hell up and when to be super loud. And if you're in this room and you're the loudest person and you have every idea, and you've been talking the entire time, and these people are so stupid, you're not listening. You're doing it wrong completely, and you're hurting that room because of it. So instead of blurting out answers or directions, ask a question and keep the conversation going by forcing others to listen to someone else who hasn't spoken in a while. And I think for us, the key to when we all get in a room to brainstorm and to solve a creative problem is that we know everyone in that room is there for a reason and deserves just as much spotlight as the person next to them.
Everything that we've done as Jolby and Friends, it's all gone back to the foundation that we wanted to take what we were doing with our personal relationships and those ideas of being honest into Jolby. We wanted to make how we worked just as important as the work itself. When you take a time to build a collaboration in an open environment and with a relationship that's honest, issues like barriers and how you're going to solve them becomes so much easier. And you'll find that with yourself and your teams, that by implementing that, by taking the things that you do with your friends and your significant other, and if you brought it into a work setting, and if you were really honest with the people that you work with every single day for 8 to 10 hours, that it'll be so much more fun. It'll be so much more enjoyable and enriching when you can talk to someone honestly and not lie to their face. A big thing for us is, understanding that the deeper that you dive into collaboration means understanding why you're diving in the first place. If you are honest and you're open with your teams, it'll make everything that you do that much better. Thank you.
Thanks.
I think we have some questions.
Well, we have a few minutes, yeah. So
Okay.
my first question is, do y'all have a contract, like, internally that, like, rules that you kind of, like, reminding or like if you hire someone new, like how do you have a kind of process to kind of get them on board with this whole
We're currently
thing?
working on that.
It's actually, we were talking about it last night with Steven, who's our studio manager, who's here. Should high five him if you see him. He's very awesome. There he is, right there. That the first couple months when someone comes to work at our studio, we kind of throw them to the wolves with all this, and it's like this big process, but we can kind of feel out the vibe. Like, I think they're flexible enough to ride this out until we get somewhere good with it.
And from the beginning, we tell them. We're like, okay, this is going to be a very different process than you have done in the past. And if you're open to it and you are willing to take this head on, it's going to be awesome, and we're going to have a really great time doing it.
And we also set it up in a way where we're questioned often. Like, well, why are we going to do it this way? Oh, okay, well, let's talk it out. And if your idea is better than mine and aligns with the project better, like, let's do that instead. Like, it doesn't stop at us. It just, we kind of all take part in it.
Awesome. And then, so I guess like if you've ever had the experience where you're in a collaboration that you've had a barrier, you've hit it, it's already happening, and the emotions are already, there. It's kind of, sometimes it feels like it's a little too late. Like it's already, you missed the red flags, or maybe you forgot to pay attention to them. So maybe we could talk about like some of like the red flags that would come up, either with a client, for example, or when you're interviewing someone. I like often compare interviewing clients as to like dating in a way, because of just the way people reveal different parts of themselves. So if you guys have any kind of guidelines for that might be good to talk about.
Yeah, when we are talking with a client, I think that there's a way of approaching it. Not every project that we do would I say that we are collaborating fully with all of our clients. It's, like I said, it's understanding why we're doing it in the first place, that collaboration. A job may just exist to be a job. So when that happens, yeah, we look at it like, okay, is this a red flag that's going to hurt how we are communicating with them? And then we'll just say in the beginning, in an email or on the phone, just like, okay, like we want to make sure that if we go down this direction, we're just talking openly about this, and we, with most of our clients, do that.
But I think on the other side of that, though, is, yeah, sometimes you miss every red flag and you're knee-deep in it and you have something due tomorrow and you've lost a bunch of money on it. I think the thing to do is just to not give up or be a dick or do work that isn't as good. Like, still be you and crush it out. Like, that's happened to us, too.
We make a conscious effort to make sure that we're not talking crap about our clients. That's a very important thing for our studios, that people, if they see us talking crap and getting super angry about a client, that just kills the positivity. And then why would you design something for them? The person who's on that project, it makes it really difficult. So we try really hard to make sure that being positive and having a good look on a project, because they know they hired us for a reason, and it's their little baby. So we have to figure out how to make sure that we fit in with how they are as people.
No, thought I saw a hand. All right, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Sweet. Thank you very much.